Hello to another mystic monologue of mine. In this video, I'm going to talk about the topic of kindness and why I think we need more kindness in this world. Um, so first of all, let me give you a little description of what I mean with kindness. I think everyone has a certain understanding of that word. Just for the context of this video, um, there's a certain kind of kindness I think is very powerful and important. And I'm kind of starting out with a few anecdotes that I experienced in my life where people have been kind to me, and I'm trying to use them as an example to deliver the arguments. Um, so one example that I have to think of when I think about kindness is so I've been going since I was 4 or 5 years old. I've been going to the playground probably every day, and you meet a lot of different people at the playground. It was like 5 minutes away from my house, so it was not far away from home. My parents could easily check on me. I could easily go home or ring the doorbell and ask if I can stay 2 more hours at the playground. And I think that in general, I learned a lot about like meeting people, encountering different people, and how to get to know someone else, and how to explore the world, and so on the playground. And when I was very young, I think I was 4 years old or 5 years old. I was going to the usual places. I usually would play a lot of football or play with sand and water. And somehow I got friends with this Italian boy, and we had so much fun together. And he was there with his family. And after some while, we played together. After some while, he's like, "Hey, why don't you join us? We brought some food. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something?" And I was hungry, and I wanted to eat something. So I had a sandwich, and to me that was incredibly kind. Um, I mean, even now when I talk about the story, I have this really warm and fuzzy feeling inside. And always I think about food when someone cooks for you or gives you food. It's such a special feeling. The food tastes much better, and it nurtures you on a different level as well, other than your body. Uh, so pretty early on, I had experiences like that. People generally are very kind to me. Another example I can give is at the same playground. Where we were having a rough day, and at the end of the day, we were walking home, passing a supermarket, and one of my friends, he was maybe 4 years older than me. He's like, "Hey, let's go to the supermarket. I want to give you a drink. Like the drink's on me." This was the first time someone bought a drink for me, and uh, um, I didn't ask for that. I didn't want the drink before he mentioned it, but just from him by himself, he offered me to, "Hey, why don't we have a drink together?" And again, this was such a special feeling for me, and somehow it made me feel belonging and part of the group. And somehow I knew there are people who care about me, who care for me. And I could give many more anecdotes like this, but um, I think I can already talk a bit about what what makes these anecdotes so special to me. Um, I think one aspect is, as I mentioned, that there was no real. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't want to be fed or drinking something together, but it was such a genuine and innocent offer. I think that is important. You cannot be kind with having kind of an agenda. That makes it kind of difficult to be kind of purpose, right? Um, if you want to give out a drink or get someone for lunch together, then if you have kind of second thoughts behind it, I think people feel that, and the kindness doesn't really land. Um, on the other side, I think there's a certain imbalance possible where maybe I can give another anecdote to drive this point home that I want to make now. The first time I was traveling by myself, I was taking the plane to London. It was I was about 24 years old. It was the first time I was traveling by myself. It was the first time I was traveling abroad. And I have never been to Great Britain before. And back then, I had a smartphone, but I didn't have mobile data, especially not abroad. So, and I needed to reach my friend's house somewhere in London. I knew the train connection, and at home in Germany, I looked up the public transport connection. But when I arrived at the train station, I took the train from the airport to somewhere else in London. When I arrived there, I couldn't find the bus station that I was supposed to go. So I asked a service person. They waited at the station to give information to passengers like me where to go, and they looked up in their smartphone where my station is, and even for them it was confusing. They needed like 5 minutes to give me the information, but then they showed me where it is. I needed to take some corners 2 minutes away or something, and then I reached the bus stop. But when I was reading the plan of the bus, the station which I knew I have to go to with the bus wasn't listed on any line. So I was basically lost in the middle of London without the possibility to contact my friends, without the possibility to Google where to go. And I must have looked quite distressed, because a very kind lady approached me and asked me if I'm okay and if I could need some help. And I explained the situation to her, and she was also confused. She couldn't find that station. But together we kind of figured it out. And by chance, the best guess we had was that I would take the same bus that she needed to take. So I joined her, and I was still so distressed that in London there's a special way to pay for public transport, and it was also the first time when I had a credit card. So everything was so new to me, and I entered the bus, and with my heavy bag, and the bus driver greeted me, and he noticed I'm distressed, and I told him, sorry, I will put my bags first in the bag, and then I will come back to pay. And he was totally okay with that. And it took me, I don't know, a couple of minutes, because I needed to sort myself. I couldn't find my wallet. Yeah, I couldn't find my wallet. That's why I couldn't pay. So I told him I need to find my wallet, and he still let me enter. Um, So after some minutes of searching everything, I could find my credit card, and I came back to the bus driver, and I paid. And sure enough, that was the correct bus, and I managed to find my friend's house, and everything. And the lady was still kind of with me for the duration of my trip. And so I do think that probably eventually, without the lady's help, without the bus driver's help, I would have reached my destination. Um, but it really made a world's difference to me that this lady offered her help, kind of in a situation of need, And the point I'm trying to make with this anecdote is, of course, for the lady, she invested her time, she invested her attention and her effort, uh, but all in all, it comparatively, it didn't take her a lot of effort to help me. She knew how things work. uh, she could figure things out easily, within a few minutes, what would have took me maybe a few hours, or I don't know. And it's kind of, there's such a big imbalance between how much effort she needed to put in versus how huge of an impact that made in my life or in my experience. And to me, this is such a powerful dynamic. And I think this is the kind of kindness I'm talking about. Um, and always this has been so fascinating to me, because if we look at this from a global scale, like humanity, if we can make it happen such that hopefully everyone is kind in their daily life, and we find opportunities where something that is not a lot of bother to me but has a huge impact on someone else, if the two of us can meet, wow, that's amazing. I can spend a little of my time, a little of my resources, but kind of change the life of the other person like tremendously. uh, so I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think there's so much to find in there in this topic. um, there's such a huge potential in that, and it's really, wow, it blows me away. And I've been trying, the more and more conscious and reflected I got in my life, I've been trying more and more to be kind whenever I can. I'm not saying that when I'm walking on the street, I'm like all these stereotypical things of like helping someone cross the street, or carrying the bags of someone. I might do that, but I'm not going on the street and look around for opportunities to be kind. It's kind of a organic thing that just happens, and somehow people find me where I can help them a lot. Like, whether it be maybe something they need a translation to German, which I can help them with. They need some advice. They have a question. Somehow, people find me where I can give them help. So these are the kind of opportunities that come to me, and I'm more than happy to provide my help, and to give my input. Um, so I do think that those opportunities are available to anyone, and they will come find you once you decided to be kind. And if I'm being honest, and I reflect back on my life, I mean, there are thousands of people that have been kind to me in a very impactful way. And it's kind of weird. Without these thousands of people, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be who I am today. And I kind of have a lot to make up for, I feel. Um, yeah. So one topic where, for example, I care a lot about is the topic of immigration. So um, my father immigrated to Germany about 60 years ago, and of course that had a lot of impact on my life because otherwise I wouldn't exist. Um, and I am in contact with a lot of people in Germany that moved here from another country, and I do notice that they struggle with many different things in their daily lives. I had the chance to live for 2 months in the US at the beginning of 2020, and I struggled a lot with normal things in daily life, whether it be paying for my food in a restaurant, which is such a confusing process to me, or using public transport, finding the right street names, asking people on street for some directions. Uh, it is such a difficult situation to live in another country that I can only appreciate the 2 months I lived in the US. And I knew that after 2 months, I will return to Germany. It was temporary from the start. But if you decide to change the center of your life to another country, um, I have a lot of respect for that. And so I kind of see it as my responsibility to, when I meet someone who is new in Germany, or even who has lived here for a long time, but still struggles with some things relating to the German culture or to the German bureaucracy, which has apparently a worldwide reputation of being not great. I see it as my responsibility to at least support them. Um, and it's the same principle where there are certain things you kind of you learn growing up in Germany about the German culture, about how bureaucracy works here. I assume it's the same in every country. You kind of learn how things work in your society. But if you didn't grow up in that society where you live, it's kind of, you don't know that. So I helped a lot of friends in these topics, and it's always kind of, I mean, it can get hairy because bureaucracy is just super annoying. But usually I can help them with like half an hour or 1 hour of my time. And for them, it means, for example, whether their visa process reaches the next step, or whether they will find a home, whether they can get a work. And these are like massive aspects of of their life, right? This has tremendous impact on how they live here. So this is one concrete example where I've seen again and again that this principle works. And I hope that in the future, like, my help wouldn't be needed. I hope that in this topic, for example, things would just work, because usually there is not really a reason why it shouldn't work. It's always a weird non-issue that is the issue. So I kind of diverged a lot into this other topic of immigration and bureaucracy and so on. But I do think that the topic of kindness is very core to this topic as well. So one thing I want to say also is, I think being kind means there's this concept of unconditional giving and unconditional receiving. And being kind can only work if it's unconditional. If I'm going on the street and asking people, "Hey, how can I help you with your bureaucracy?" I really want to help you. People would feel weird and would not accept it. They would think I'm some weirdo running around on the street, especially in Berlin. But I have found that, as I mentioned, kind of when I go through my life and with open eyes and open ears, opportunities will pop up by themselves where I think to myself, wow, I can really be kind in this moment and offer my help. And I think this is a very healthy approach to the topic. And on the other hand, the unconditional receiving part, for me, it's important that when I invest my time and my resources, that it is actually helpful to the other person. Sometimes, for example, the topic of giving advice is tricky because I can put in a lot of thought, a lot of energy and time into giving the best possible advice for the situation of a person. Maybe someone is asking me if they should study computer science. I studied computer science, so I can give them my perspective. But if I now spend a lot of time to like give the perfect introduction to computer science, show them all the ups and downs, what it means, how the industry looks like, and so on. Let's say I write them an email, and then afterwards they tell me either they don't answer, or like 2 weeks later I find out, okay, now they study physics, and they never really intended to study computer science. This would be quite frustrating, right? This hasn't happened to me. It's just an example, but what I want to say is, I need to have the feeling that my help will actually be helpful. And if I don't have that feeling, I am kind of hesitant to give in my input. So one aspect that shows me that someone is willing and ready to receive help is being proactive. Figuring out the kind of the high level things they need and approach me by themselves. And you usually can tell. So I think then with that mentality that usually you will find help. I try to take the same mentality when I have a question, or when I try to make progress, and it is not always easy, of course. Especially there's like in the anecdote in London, there's always this kind of emotional aspect where the situation itself is not really tricky. It's just I'm being overwhelmed with emotions right now, and that's why I cannot deal with the situation appropriately. So in this case, probably a really good thing you can do is just being there and listening to the person and kind of giving them the signal that it's totally okay how they feel, and totally okay that they struggle, and that there is a way, and that you are available to them to just give them feedback on how they approach things. I think this in itself is already a huge help. So with all that being said, one last perspective that I would like to share is the following image. I already mentioned the scale of humanity, the global scale. Um, there are basically two extremes. One extreme is no person is kind ever, and the other extreme is everyone is kind all the time. I know in which world I want to live. I want to live in the world where everyone is kind, maybe not all the time, but frequently. Um, if I just think about this, it's so amazing. Like we as a collective, and I mean, this picture works in all collectives, no matter the size, whether it's a living community, whether it's a neighborhood, a city, a country, or the world. Um, I want to live in a world where people are kind to each other. Um, so this is another reason why I think it's my responsibility to be kind, because I know that there are a lot of kind people, and being kind is also kind of um, when you are kind, you attract other kind people, and other kind people attract you. And it's kind of a self-reinforcing dynamic. Um, People have been kind to me, which inspires me to be kind to others. And hopefully, I can inspire others to be kind to third parties. And I really think that this is a sort of viral viral process that is happening. Kindness inspires kindness in others, and if we manage to inspire the whole world to be kind, basically like 99% of our problems are gone. Yeah, so these are my thoughts about kindness, and I hope I could give you some inspiration and some arguments why we need kindness and why you should be kind. Um, Thank you.